And you guys are live in 3, 2, 1. You're live.
Welcome to the Curly Hair Q&A Mondays with Melanie show. I am your host, Ken Nichols, and I'm here tonight with Melanie Nichols. She is the founder of the Raw Hair Organic Salon in beautiful Naples, Florida. It's one of the top curly hair salons in the country, and Melanie is one of the top curl specialists anywhere in the world. She is also the founder of the Raw Curls brand of natural and organic curly hair products that can be found at rawhairorganics.com. See, it says right on the board, don't forget sponsor mentions. So I'm not.
Very good. Very good.
We're also sponsored tonight by Raw Organics Nutritional Supplements. You can find us at raworganics.com. And our producer, Rhett, tonight will post links somewhere. And I want to go through a couple of quick things before we get started. And these are important if you're a weekly listener or watcher of our live show. If you're listening to our podcast, this probably doesn't apply. But if you could go to our Curly Hair Q&A YouTube channel, if you're not watching us live there, subscribe to that channel and you'll get updates when we go live and when we post new episodes and things like that. It's important. And also, if you could go to the Raw Organics YouTube channel as well, same thing. And once we get a certain subscriber level, it helps us to do other things that make our productions for you a whole lot better and nicer. So just wanted to throw that out there. So tonight, it's not so much a Mondays with Melanie show. We have a special guest. But before I introduce her...
Mondays with Melanie
and a special guest. Yeah, that's what it is. Tonight, you're going to get two top curl specialists. And notice I didn't say expert. I said top curl specialist. There's a reason I said that. Top curl specialists together tonight, and
double trouble.
Double trouble. So, if you are watching live, we also have this show goes live on podcast tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. Eastern time, wherever you listen to podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play Music, not YouTube. What's the other one? iTunes. Spotify. I always forget them all. There's so many. I know
you do. We're going to have to write those on the board.
We're going to have to write them
like
on my board up there.
Whatever.
This is episode 113. We have combined. We have over 200 episodes in. I still can't get it right. Anyway, but I'm going to get our guest's name right for a change.
Oh, well,
so that's good.
We'll see.
Do we have a fun fact before we get started?
I have two.
Why do you have those dirty shoes on our table?
I was wondering if you were going to ask me.
What are those dirty shoes?
Your table is dirty, filthy, so it shouldn't matter.
Not that dirty.
But yeah, actually, this was to remind me, thank God, that we have a shoe fund. This is something that Ken and I have done for many years now, where
since we got married, we've done that.
Yeah, pretty much. Mm-hmm. So we take our extra change, him especially, and we throw it into a container, we'll call it, and once it fills up, then we actually started this not when we were married. This is what we started when you got sick, actually.
Could be
because we didn't have money, and I couldn't spend any money on getting new shoes or new clothes for myself. So we started saving our change, and when that built up, and it was full, then I was able to
hand roll it back in those days.
Yeah, I was able to take that cash and go and get a new pair of shoes. So, and thank God we did, because I forgot to talk about this just a couple weeks ago. This is the third pair of shoes that this has happened to for you on the podcast. You can't see, but we're in Florida, and literally my shoes started to disintegrate as I was walking through the salon. Well, first of all, it started to unravel with this on the bottom, the perimeter, it's like raffia or whatever that is. And then, so...
It looks like hemp to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, whatever. And then, they just started to crumble every step I took, and then literally broke in half. And these are Born shoes, so they have a really thick sole. Remember my other ones? They did the same exact thing. Yep. They both snapped in half. Allison literally was following me through the salon with the broom. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to work barefoot. But thank goodness.
She's one of our receptionists, if you don't know, at our salon.
And she's always sweeping, which is wonderful. But so thank goodness I had another pair of shoes in the car. I just so happened to, that's a long
I cashed in the shoe fund this weekend.
So Ken cashed in the shoe fund, and I got to go and buy some new shoes.
Hooray.
Yeah.
Did you spend it?
I did.
Really?
I got lots of shoes. I got more than one.
I'll bet. There's a lot of change in there.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's fun.
That's why my dirty shoes are on here.
Yeah.
But yes,
Those
we
going in
have
the
a little
garbage
shoe
now?
fund. Yes.
Okay. Well, good.
And we have another fun fact. Rhett, do you have that? Now, some of you have.
What do you mean, Rhett? I never like this. Whenever it's Rhett, do you have that? That means
Rhett.
there's going to be some unflattering picture of me.
We have a little
Let me
surprise.
guess. Curly hair from my junior year of high school.
Oh,
with my
it's
curls
even
down
better.
to my shoulders. But I'm
Even
shirtless in that
better.
picture. I hope it's
God.
up there.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
I'm ready for it.
Okay, well, another fun fact is I've talked before, and Ken's tried to deny that when we met, he had a mullet.
But
my girlfriend just so happened to send me a picture this week. So I
what
said,
girlfriend?
oh my gosh, it's perfect. Let's see. Woo, look at that.
Look at those grandpa shorts. What a dork.
Look at that. Julie said you look like a rooster.
Nice bob.
Yeah.
That's Kimmy, for those of you we've mentioned her before.
That's my girlfriend. So we're showing a picture of Ken
Nice
and
fanny
his
pack,
mullet.
Kimmy. I hope you're watching.
Yeah, and that's my girlfriend that set us up 23 years ago.
That was my next door neighbor.
So there you have it. Ken did have a mullet, and I quickly proceeded to
Thanks,
chop
Kimmy.
it off.
Appreciate
We did the
that.
big chop.
Yeah, it took like 3 hours. Anyway, can we move on to this interview?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We've got a special guest tonight, and she's got a special announcement. So I know a lot of you saw me post and talk about this coming up, and to tell if you are not a stylist, if you would tell your stylist to watch or listen to this episode today or tomorrow, would be really, really important, because there's going to be a big, big announcement, and
Yes,
I'll
very
let her
exciting.
tell you. So our special guest this evening is really one of, I hate to use the word founder, because I'm going to use the word founder like 3 times in her description. But she's really one of the originators of what we see the curl industry as today. And 2 weeks ago we had the Queen in. We had
Yeah.
Rita in here.
Yeah.
And tonight we've got another one of those. And this is one of the 3 original founding members of Devacurl, and a co-founder of the Devacurl Academy. The wonderful, our friend, Miss Shari Harbinger. Look, I got the entire intro right. Look at that. I'm so proud of myself.
He did it.
I didn't screw up anything, did I? Did I, Shari? I got it all right, didn't I? I did, see? Oh,
I
wonderful.
almost don't want to do this interview. I almost want to talk about mullets, your Darcy Hall haircut, and shoes.
I had a good looking shoulder
I gotta
length
tell
haircut.
you, there's a lot of material there.
There is. That could be a whole show in itself. Yes, and that was me with the short, dark hair straight.
All right, I'll tell a really brief. Yes, I'll tell a really brief story. There was actually another girl that was a mutual friend of ours, a longtime friend of mine, Maria, who tried to set us up as well before Kimmy did. And Maria married a good friend of mine. So I had 2 friends that didn't know each other that I knew separately that got married. And Maria would cut my hair at her house for quite a while. And Maria's so nice, and I'd come over there all the time. And she's like, Ken, why don't you let me do a little bit? I'm like, nope. She's like, really, Ken, you really should just let me. I'm like, nope.
I took care of that business.
She tried. So Maria
I wasn't
tried.
even graduated from school, and I took care of that business.
But I didn't listen. But she was too nice to say, Ken, cut that mullet off.
Not me. I'm not that nice.
You're not getting any dates because you're wearing that mullet. And she didn't do it. But anyway. So I got it off, and I'm sure she's happy. But anyway.
So welcome, Shari.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you again for having me. It's great to be here again, and
Yeah,
always enjoy to hang around you guys.
it's fun.
Never a dull moment, that's for sure.
We're glad you could come, and so are a lot of other people. I've got some questions that came in within the last hour or so, and then I'm going to take some live questions as well. And why don't we do this? We'll go right into some questions, and then we'll talk about your project afterwards. How about that? Can we do that?
Why don't you let her introduce herself a little bit, and then
Okay.
you said we'll continue with the fun fact, and then we'll get down to business.
Okay.
Because you said there was a fun fact for Shari.
Oh yeah, I got a fun because somebody has a fun fact for you too. So yeah, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and tell us tell us why you're important to us. All of us.
Well,
all of us.
That's a loaded question.
Yes.
Well, let me say this. You said something very relevant, which pertains to the industry in terms of where we've been, where we are, and now where we're headed. And where we've been, if we had this conversation over 20 years ago, it would have been an entirely different conversation around curls and the newness of them and the learning curve. Whereas today, we've conquered so much as an industry. The whole texture market it's a whole game changer, really, in the beauty industry. And I'm one of many who saw the value in it years ago, got lucky enough to align myself with two other very special people in the world of Devacurl, and came with a background that really allowed me to continue that curl journey, but also bring some of my expertise to the game, which is writing, curriculum development, and ultimately teaching, which is really my true love. And later on, we'll segue into how that has morphed into the next project. But it's been a really great journey. I've been in the industry now for over 30 years. For the people that are listening that missed the last interview, my beginnings were actually with Clairol. That's how I started.
Wow.
I worked for Clairol as a sales consultant. I was selling hair color, tubes of hair color. And one of the things about Clairol, one of their mottos or their mantras was sales through education. And what happened was, over time, I realized that the education piece was so much more interesting to me than the actual selling, although I needed that to understand the latter. And what ended up happening with Clairol and the way it was structured back then is that every sales consultant had to go in and do classes. So you had to be versatile. And the teaching portion of it really trumped the selling and as they called it, detailing back then. So late in the game, I actually decided to backpedal and get my cosmetology license. But I did not have my cosmetology license until I started working for Clairol. And that unleashed a whole
I didn't know that.
world.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yes. Now, my friends in college would have thought that I already had my license because I was coined to be the dorm, a resident dorm stylist.
Uh-huh.
But it actually happened later rather than sooner. I did it a little bit backwards.
That's so interesting. And I was one of the few, I find, that never did cut anyone's hair before I got licensed. I'm too anal. I'm super, super type A. So I'm just like, I have to learn exactly what to do before I would ever cut somebody's hair or, attempt anything like that. So.
I'll tell you a funny story later when we get to part 2 of this interview around hair cutting without a license.
Oh gosh!
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then let's do that. Should we start with Shari's fun fact so she can be part of the cool kids?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Here's your fun fact.
Well, that was a pretty fun fact in itself.
That was, but there's actually I'm going to give you your fun fact, and then there's a fun fact for both you and Shari afterwards. And this fun fact was a question that I'm going to bet in the last week 12 people asked. So I rephrased it so it would fit. Okay, Shari, here's your fun fact. What is your favorite reasonably priced restaurant in New York City?
That's great. Okay, I have it. It's called Giorgio's of Gramercy.
Okay.
Wow.
Tell us about it.
Lovely. It's basic, continental cuisine, even though it sounds Italian. And they do serve pasta, but they are not an Italian restaurant.
Okay.
This restaurant, I've been going there for at least 15 years. It's quaint, but it's lively. It's chic. It's in the Flatiron District. It's right off a subway stop. It has a wonderful group of people that frequent it, a lot of regulars, and they're just warm and friendly. And so people that don't live in New York, that come to New York as a New Yorker, I want them to have a great experience. And so many people do think that New Yorkers we are, by the way, we are at rush hour. We're rude, out of my way. You know, we got to get somewhere.
Right.
It's a crazy thing. But if you stop and ask us for directions or ask us about restaurants or places to go, we love to tell you about what's so great about New York.
Yes.
Oh,
So,
yeah. People love New York. They definitely are
They-
diehards.
yeah.
Did I hear you say it's in the Flatiron District?
it is.
That
It's on
sounds.
That's
20th.
kind of ironic.
That sounds. Yeah.
What are you doing in the Flatiron
that's-
District?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think you
You know,
belong
I just
there.
realized that. I just realized that. That's hysterical.
Oh, my
Yes, it is.
Yeah, actually, there's two reasonably priced restaurants that are close to the Diva salon that I liked. I think right on Broome Street, like it's maybe a few doors down. There's a little hole in the wall Mexican restaurant on the
Oh,
same
yeah,
side
that
of the
was really
street.
good.
You remember that? I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, I don't
Yes.
know.
It's
Is it
on-
called Seymour's?
Yes, probably. It's right down the street
Great.
from there on Broome, I think.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and
I
the
give it
other
a thumbs up.
yes,
Yeah, that
and the
was
other
good.
was that restaurant on the corner down from the hotel on. What is that, Broadway? I forget. I forget. Anyway,
gosh,
I don't
I
remember.
don't
I didn't think we were
know.
going to talk about this, I forgot. But anyway, yeah, that little Mexican place. We went there for lunch.
Yes,
That was
very good.
wonderful. It was very good. Okay, so there's your fun fact. All right, let's get into some questions. Shari, are you still cutting hair? If so, how can I schedule an appointment with you?
Oh, that's so sweet. I actually just started cutting hair and coloring hair again. My significant other, Jeffrey Stein of Jeffrey Stein Salon here in Manhattan, has had, a history of salons. I would say up to about 11 salons over the last 30 plus years.
Wow.
And, I missed being behind the chair. As much as I love teaching and mentoring and coaching Diva Academy educators, I missed getting my hands in the hair. And actually, I ran from the salon today to get to here for the interview. But it's just so invigorating to be back behind the chair. So yes, I'm cutting and coloring hair at Jeffrey Stein Salon at 2345 Broadway in Upper West Side, Manhattan.
Okay, Rhett, can you find a link for that? And
That question
Post
was
it.
for me, Shari. I'll be there.
okay, Jeffrey Stein Salon on 2345 Broadway.
Yes.
That's Lower Manhattan, right?
That's Upper West Side.
23 Upper West. Yeah.
I totally agree with that, and I work too much behind the chair. I have to have therapy about that, but I'm still like 60 hours behind the chair, and because I love
that's
it.
a lot.
I love it, and I can't. People always get worried with having the product line and teaching and doing other things. They're like, "You're not going to stop working in the salon, are you?" And I just couldn't ever see myself doing that because that's my passion. I do love working with the clients and just seeing that transformation.
Okay.
There's a mindset to that and what you do. When you love it, it becomes an easier lift. When you're really clear and confident in what you're doing and how you're running your business, so for you to get to that place, I acknowledge you. For years, I'd come home exhausted, and as we all know, all of the stylists that are watching or listening, there have to be healthy boundaries when you're dealing with clients where you can preserve yourself and make sure you're good for every client that comes.
It's true. I'm working on that.
It's hard. It's hard.
It is. Okay, let's do another one. Shari, how do you properly steam your curls using a hair steamer? Is your hair supposed to be wet, dry, clean, with or without conditioner?
I saw that on the feed before I got on, and rather than go nuts
You
and
cheated.
research it,
You cheated.
no, I actually didn't. I didn't. But here's what I would say. I don't know a lot about steamers. I've seen some of them. But to speak generically about what you're doing with the steamer is essentially you're opening up the hair. And someone who's steaming the hair is trying to get something through the doorway of the cuticle, albeit moisture or a color service of some sort. So what I know as steamers is that it's the conditioner or the mask has been applied to damp hair. And this way the cuticle is already open and it allows for the product to more easily penetrate into the hair. But we don't have steamers at the Diva salons or at Jeffree Star. So I'm not sure what kind of steamer she's referring to, but maybe Melanie can answer that.
I don't know. Melanie, do you use a steamer at your salon?
We do, and we use it for exactly what she just talked about, is for conditioning treatments. So that's what we're doing with it. But I know there was that steamer. Remember that it was a retail product that people were steaming the hair to style it.
Oh, wasn't Ken from Beautiful selling it or manufacturing it? Do you remember this, Sherry, this conversation at all? We talked about this a couple of years ago when we were in Chicago, and Ken was telling us about, because people were coming up to him and asking where the steamer was that he was having. He was making so many of them, was having a hard time keeping up. But I don't remember the details.
But I do. But that was a hooded steamer.
Oh,
and
it was a hooded?
I'm talking about, there was a like, I think of it as a steamer like you use on your laundry that people were using on their hair. And I thought, I didn't understand that whole concept, because to me, steaming, like Sherry said, is opening the cuticle, which, you could cause frizz if you're trying to style your hair with a steamer. So
exactly.
Yeah. The only way that we use it is... What's that?
Years ago, there were steam rollers. I don't know if anyone here that's watching is young enough to remember the Caruso steam rollers.
True.
And they use steam to actually create the turn or the twist of the hair. But I think steaming, in terms of this discussion, would most likely relate to getting moisture into the hair and getting a good moisture foundation that would support styling or even, a beautiful color service.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
I would ask that person to put another comment on the feed to be a little more specific.
Okay. We'll see if that comes up. I'll keep my eyes open here.
Okay.
Okay. Sherry, can curl patterns change after menopause? What about after childbirth? And if so, can they change back to what they were before in the first place? Please, please.
Oh, good luck.
Yes.
Yes, and yes.
In fact, tonight, I just had a client who I haven't seen in 3 years, and she had 2 children, and I couldn't believe how she lost her curl.
On
the other hand, I have quite a few friends, we're all of that certain age, that our curls have loosened through the menopausal experience, and we have to work a little harder to get the bounce back in them. So what she's not imagining things, whoever sent this question in.
Did yours change, Melanie?
Well, I think with every hormonal change we go through, there's a lot of times a change in the hair pattern. So mine's actually gotten more curly through hormonal changes. And then also a lot of times with the menopause and having the babies, there's hair loss. So, you get, so there can be thinning of the hair, and that could, cause some of the curl to relax, but then also you get the mix of the gray hairs, which can be a whole nother texture in itself. So a lot of my whites are stick straight, and then sometimes there are, what I consider the frizz in my hair. And that's always a struggle because they're a completely different texture than the rest of your hair. So we need to come out with a product that can adjust for grays and for natural hair. I haven't worked on that.
I'd be first in line.
Yeah.
And another notable mention too is trauma.
I've
Absolutely.
seen trauma affect the hair. I've seen clients who've been through certain surgeries or treatments affect the hair. So to Melanie's point, hormonal, the way the body reacts to either stress or, just changes like childbirth and menopause absolutely affect the curl pattern, and even I would say the moisture level.
Absolutely. Yeah. It usually ends up sucking the moisture out. It's like it's just taking all the nutrients out of the body. So sometimes it comes back, and it depends on the situation. And then sometimes, if somebody's going through chemo and they have, their hair grows back in curly, sometimes it stays and sometimes it doesn't. So it's an individual basis.
Okay.
That's a valuable question, though, to have asked.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Well, here's another one, and this could go along as a fun fact for Shari too, because what's funny is that this question, and it might even been from the same person. Somebody asked this of Melanie last week on last week's show, so now Shari gets the same question.
Oh boy,
Shari, if you were going to create a brand new curly hair product now, what would it be?
Oh, it would be definitely wave centric.
Wave
And I will
centric.
tell you why.
Explain. Yeah,
It would
explain.
It would be a styler. Here's what I've discovered more recently than ever before. A lot of it is through the work I've done with Devacurl, and a lot of it's just, my own research. The wavy category is actually the largest category in the texture world. And yet the wavy category is the most misunderstood category in the textured world. The products that are available for wavies pale in comparison to the assortment of products that are available to curlies and super curlies. And as a wavy myself, sometimes leaning on the curlier side, and having had a ton of clients that were wavy, blow drying it straight when they first met me, and then as I went through my own evolution through the years to the wavy, they too went through their evolution because they saw it was possible. There are a lot of us that still are struggling to find products that create the kind of volume and texture that has the longevity to it throughout the day, or even more than first day wear.
Hear it all the time.
And that would be the product that I would love to create.
Yeah.
Is something for wavy hair that really keeps it, you may see that I do this a lot. And in fact, this isn't a fun fact, but it's a little secret that I actually put a little clip in my hair.
Oh, wow. Look at
because
that.
Because I saw myself on video and I'm like, this side's really flat. I got to do something about it for this interview here.
Right.
And so, we come up with these tricks and things that we shouldn't have to work as hard. So I'd like to have our wavy girls not work as hard, myself included, with their texture.
Interesting that you bring that up about wavy products for wavies in general. And it's kind of funny is everybody, at least our raw curls clients, they think that like the most expensive product for us to make is like our conditioner because it's so thick and rich and whatever, and it's got the anti whatever. Our wavy cleanser, our wavy swavy cleanser, is the most expensive product for us to manufacture by far. It's not even close. And you'd look at it and think, really big deal, right? You think it's no big deal when you look at it in your hand, but it's, oh my God, to make stuff work for wavies is tough. It's tough.
It is. It is.
Yeah, and that's interesting. She said that would be a great product. You're right, because that does come up a lot. Because to get the volume in the hair, you're using typically a lighter product, but then you don't have the hold factor.
Yeah.
So I was just explaining that to someone. And it also gets a little confusing for people because they have usually, finer hair, wavier hair, but sometimes their hair is dry. So they actually need more moisture, which they're afraid of because they feel like it's going to weigh down their hair. So it's this kind of, vicious cycle.
It is a vicious cycle. And that's also, though, I would say that's where a good haircut comes in. We talked about this in the last interview where it's always that combination of the right product, but with the right cut, getting the right elevations and removing weight to create volume.
Right.
In my case, of course, and I'm probably due for a little haircut, but, getting this area elevated and weightless enough that when we do use our products that it holds.
It looks great. Why don't you talk about that a little bit as far as the technique that you use for removing weight, because people are fearful of that a lot of times. They feel like you're thinning the hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a good topic too. I don't think we could talk about it enough. If we had a conversation with each other on these shows every time, it needs to be brought up.
Yes.
There's, this method of cutting that you and I do. And I'll speak to it generically, which is just an overall a dry cut, where we're really mindful of the clients who, for the most part, and we know this and the viewers will know, it's never really about the length. If anything, they want to hold on to length because every haircut they've had, they've left feeling too short. It's really about the shape. And, from a technical standpoint, for the professionals that are watching, it's knowing at what point to start shifting the shape or the weight by removing the hair in the areas where the hair tends to fall flat. And it's typically in that parietal occipital area. And that's part one of it. The other part is, when you're a specialist, a texture specialist, it's not enough to understand the elevations of how to cut the shape. You and I do this on a daily basis in the salon. We have to understand what's the curl type that we're dealing with, because that curl type informs where, how, and when we might decide to create that elevation or that shape for that client. And lastly, and that comes back to the whole steamer question, is how is that hair then, before or after that haircut, going to respond to moisture? Because that also informs the shape of the haircut. So it's really all of those considerations that a professional makes in cutting the hair, or should make. And the hair cutting, the customized haircut that we've done at the Academy and that I continue to do, is really all about understanding where the hair needs to keep its density, where we need to maintain weight, and where we need to remove the weight.
Very good. And I know you hate this terminology because you use, the term elevation, but just so a lot of people can understand, because the question comes up between layering or not layering, and that it's still very used. And so that's what you're talking about with elevation, is actually layering the hair, which can give you volume.
Absolutely. And some people cringe when they hear the word and some people don't. And layering is simply removing extra weight where it's not needed.
Exactly.
And some people have had weight removed where it was needed, or didn't have enough weight removed in the layering. And so in their mind, they think layers are bad, but it's really that they just didn't have a positive experience with layering.
Correct. And that's how I always explain it to people, is they can be a wonderful thing that's absolutely necessary done properly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's where our texture specialist comes in.
Yeah. We get a lot of questions and a lot of discussion in our curly hair groups on Facebook about people who, want tighter curls. They want more defined curls. But I got an interesting question tonight. Shari, how can we achieve elongated curls? I am a 3A/3B, and my front hair is very tightly curled. I would prefer it to be more wavy. Any suggestions?
Yeah, and I'm guessing that 3A, 3B is on the curly to super curly spectrum?
Yes.
Okay. So
for those of you who don't know, not everybody uses the number system. Melanie tries not to use it. Shari tries not to use it. I only use it to make it easy for people that know that number system.
That use it.
That use it, right. When in Rome, right? When in Rome, do as the Romans do.
And that's the irony of it all, because when I hear that, it's like, I want more curl, and here you've got someone that wants less curl, and why can't we just love what we have? But so when you're dealing with different textures, elongation is the term I use. And the elongation process happens through the manipulation of the hair while it's wet, and it also happens through product usage. So there are many products that will elongate. They're typically creamier in nature and more conditioning in nature. And the idea behind that for her would be in this area here in the front where it's curlier, is on very, very wet hair, to apply an elongating, creamy styling product. And instead of where most people want to bring the hair up to encourage curl, she would actually be gliding the hair and working the hair in a downward motion to bring weight from the water, stretching from the use of the gliding motion. And then another trick that we've done, here's my clip.
I was going to say, where's your clip?
Once we elongate and the hair is wet, we can actually take the clip and anchor it on the wet hair. And the weight of the clip, you can even put a few clips here, while the hair is drying, will actually weight it down as like an anchor through the drying process. So that entire area will dry with the visual appearance of less curly.
Yes. It reminds me, I had that picture in my head too, of where they take the little ponytail holders on the horses' tails and they put multiple ones going all the way down.
Right, all the way down.
But that does the trick.
Yep. They do that for shows.
And I'll actually add another thing. Not that I'm recommending this, but it's just FYI. If you damage your hair too much, it's also going to elongate those curls. If you damage your hair to the point of lacking the protein and moisture that it naturally has, it's going to lose its curl. So just a good fact to know and keep in mind.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yes. Sherry.
And that's why so many clients end up doing a big chop. Because they've damaged.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I get a lot of those that come in, and sometimes they don't want to do the big chop, so we just do little by little and try to, get their hair in better condition, cutting as much as they're comfortable with, and trying to get it to, hold on to some more moisture, and but they're just not ready for that big chop.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
So they have some straight with the curly.
Sherry, how is your broken leg healing up?
Thank you for asking. It was my ankle, and I actually ran on the treadmill the other day. Almost normal again. Almost normal.
Wow.
It's still a little achy, but I'm glad it's behind me.
Great.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Believe it or not, here's a fun fact. We have another fun fact. We actually have a very close friend who did the exact same thing you did, broke their ankle stepping onto a boat, but did it in Africa. In the middle of nowhere.
Oh my God.
Had to air flighter and everything.
It was like the second day of their trip or something. It was crazy.
First day of the trip. They've been waiting all year to get there.
That's unfortunate.
Anyway, well, I'm glad you're healing up well.
Thank you.
Sherry, do you see different issues with different water and water qualities in other parts of the country besides New York City? And if so, how do you navigate this, or how should we navigate that?
Sure do. Absolutely. The minerals, different types of minerals that are in water will definitely affect the hair, especially.
And pizza makes for great pizza in New York.
That's right, water. I would say yes. And the more porous the hair, the more susceptible to holding on to these extra, unwanteds that are in the water.
Minerals, calciums, things like that.
Exactly.
Chlorine.
Rust.
Rust.
Yes, chlorine. So, the water filter, I always recommend a water filter on the shower head. Always. And if, they have like Buildup Buster is a great product if they do have it already and they're trying to get it out. There are other products out on the market that will remove the minerals from the hair, but it is and continues to be a challenge.
Do you have a specific water filter that you like or recommend, or no?
I don't.
You don't? Melanie, do you?
No, I used to sell one in the salon, but then I just ran out of space for it. Actually, I had looked into the one that Chadwick was using. It's a vitamin C treatment, but I haven't followed through with that. So, but Buildup Buster, let's go to that. That's sulfate free, right?
Oh yeah, Buildup Buster is a pretty interesting product.
Yeah, tell us about that.
It was the first time in the history of hair care that we actually used technology that's used in skincare. And it's called micellar technology. And it's doing is the micelle has one side of it that's pulling out the dirt, and the other side of it is keeping the moisture in and keeping all the good stuff in. And the whole idea is that we're removing the bad stuff without ruining the moisture balance of the hair, where most clarifiers would take everything out with it.
Right.
So the Buildup Buster is a really, really good choice for this specific question. If they haven't yet purchased the filter, they need a clean foundation and then get the filter to continue. They probably wouldn't need to do a buildup remover as often.
Okay. How often do you typically, people ask me this question, how often do you recommend that people do a clarifier like with the Buildup Buster?
Yeah, I think it's really on an individual basis because everyone uses stylers differently. Everyone leaves different amounts of products in differently, but they're going to know because when their hair begins to feel limp or isn't cooperating, chances are that's when it's time for the Buildup Buster.
Okay.
Exactly. Now, have you had scenarios where you've had to use it more than once? Like, do you do like multiple applications? Because I've had people come in that have tons of silicones. They have the waxes on their hair. You can see the white flakes coming off. And without the sulfate in that product, is it going to be strong enough to remove all that?
I have seen it used more than once on those clients that continue to layer and layer, especially synthetic types of oils like silicone on the hair. It's not a one and done, especially if the hair's more porous.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay, we're going to do I think 2 questions, maybe 3. We're going to do like 2 or 3 more questions, and then we're going to talk about Shari's new endeavor, which we're excited about. And
great.
Yeah, and if you're in the we'll talk about our salon too when we get to that point. But okay, now everyone who comes on this show as a guest knows that I say right up front, I tell them there are no gotcha questions on here. We don't play that regular media type stuff, but
Oh gosh.
I got it. There's kind of a this is kind of a gotcha question in a way, but it's a good question, and that's why I'm going to ask it. It's kind of a gotcha one, and then both Shari and Melanie together get a gotcha question together. And this is
gotcha
I'm gonna
questions?
and yes, but this one is for both of you. The second one, and it is a question. Like I said, I've got probably 12 or 14 times in the last couple of days, in one form of another, and actually, Melanie and I in the past have even thought of this. So just so you know, so you got 2 gotcha questions coming up.
I'm nervous again.
Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. So before I give you the 2 gotcha questions, I'm going to give you the one question that give us the short version, because I know we could do a whole show on this.
Okay.
Shari, will you, or Devacurl, be making a protein-free bundle? My hair does not respond well to all the protein in products.
Okay. Well, I don't know what Diva's plans are in terms of product development right now.
Okay.
I will tell the viewer that I'm not the biggest fan of the protein conversation.
That makes 2 of you here.
Before there's the conversation around moisture. Because typically it's moisture before protein, and typically moisture is the solve.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, there are proteins in our masks. And someone had definitely put a question up on Facebook around that. Then we have a protein derived mask, but you have to also think about the balance of how much protein. What are you trying to do? What do you think you're getting from protein? We had this discussion in the last interview, and I went on to tell you that, when you put protein on the hair, it's topical, but when you are nourishing from the inside out, you have a better chance of having a healthier representation outwardly by nourishing inwardly. Mm-hmm. So I'm not the biggest fan of the protein conversation. I'm not a big fan of anything that's so topical that it's not restorative, it's just band-aiding. Yeah. And sometimes I feel like these products are band-aids.
I hear you. And I will say this, and we talked about this 2 weeks ago. We had Weedad and her daughter on as well. Soliel. I can't pronounce Sondriel. I pronounce it wrong. And I made this statement: of all the professional industry guests that we've had come on for Q&A, you are all 100% in agreement on the protein discussion and the moisture discussion, but it's still in the Instagram world and YouTube world and the Facebook world of curls, it is still a prominent daily discussion of the opposite answer. And I find that so interesting that the pros are all in consensus on it, but the consumer world of curl is completely on board, almost in the opposite direction. I find that, and this
is why I think it's so important for you to have a show like this.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I agree, and this will lead into your project. Yeah, but I got to give you these 2 other questions first. Oh, but yeah, it's a perfect lead in though. Okay. All right. Here's Shari's gotcha question, and then I'll give you guys both your gotcha questions. Okay. All right, Shari. Let's see. Shari, you guys caught lightning in a bottle with Devacurl. Would you ever team up with Dennis and Lorraine again for a new curl project in the future? That's a great question.
That's an awesome question. Everything's possible. I mean, I still, Dennis and I are still in touch. He still hangs around Diva and is an innovator today, just like he was 30 years ago, coming up with the most amazing things and trying it out on me. And then if I love it, we ideate together, and I'll make it part of the curriculum once we beta tested it.
Right.
That's what happened recently with a technique. As far as Lorraine, I have not been in touch with Lorraine in quite a few years. I do hear that she's launched a product, and I think that she might even be opening her own salon.
I've heard some rumors of that too.
So I don't know how that could possibly happen,
Okay.
but I'm open to anything. Absolutely. As long as it's curl collaboration, I'm in.
Yeah, there were several stylists that actually asked that. I thought it was a legit question. Otherwise, I wouldn't have asked it.
Well,
okay.
we used to run the academy together.
Yes. Now here's another good one, and this one I'm all for. This one I will just state that on this. It was not my question, but I am 100% on board for this one. Shari and Melanie, you guys should do a live Q&A there in the studio with WeDad, where you each answer the same questions from your specific point of view. Not really a question, it's a statement. I'm all on board for that. Would you do it, Shari? You would do that?
Absolutely.
Melanie, would you do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's.
Did we ask WeDad? What did she say? I don't remember. Did I ask her?
Well, not that specific question, but we talked about having her here because she spends time in Florida.
Yeah, she lives part of the year in
But it reminds me of how we had that professional panel in Chicago.
Yeah.
So
and we have this.
Panel.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have an oval table here in the studio where we can set the cameras up where we could. And Rhett, it would be easily for you to record all the audio, right?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, then I'm going to see if I can. I'm going to see if I can put this deal
The
together.
problem's going to be getting everyone's schedules together and coordinating.
Yeah. Well, for us, it's easy because we're close.
Oh, that's not easy for me.
Right. I will work on that. So you guys who are listening and watching, let's see if we can put that together. Maybe pepper some people's inboxes. Well, I'll let you know because I have 2/3 of the people. No, there's 4 of us, so I have 3/4 of the people on board already. All I got to do is get one more, and I think she'll do it. Okay. All right. So, all right, Shari. Let's talk about your new project. And I found it, the couple of times that you've written me about it where we've talked about this. I very much understand how different at different points in your life you see different things, you notice different things, especially when you've been in an industry so long, and you start to look at it differently, and you start to, at least, and for me, and I'm seeing it in you too, that's why I kind of smile when I think about it, but you kind of see at this point that you fit into the industry you love differently, or you need to be fitting into it differently, and this is really interesting. So tell us about it. Give us the down and dirty about it, and tell us all about this project.
Well, I love your intro into this. It was perfectly worded, positioned. It's exactly where I'm at. In the last interview, we talked about the fact that Devacurl has a new CEO, and they are, we lightning in a bottle and all those great things that have happened with the company that started out with a group of, 6 stylists 20 plus years ago. And we did well, and the company's doing great. But what I've realized is, having been at the academy all this time, creating curriculum, meeting stylists, talking to them, sharing with them, talking with our own people, and even observing our own team. And then more recently, because I've had the time and I've been asked to do private in some trainings, what I've come to realize is that the industry has changed, and many of us have not changed our mindset around what it takes to be a true professional behind the chair. It's so much more than just learning the technical. And if we want to be successful today, there's so many stylists in the industry. We have to think about what's our unique point of difference. And what that causes us to do, as whether we're stylists, whether we're salespeople in the industry, beauty professionals in general, myself, we have to get really clear on who am I? What's my unique area of brilliance that I can contribute to this industry in a way that perhaps it hasn't been done yet? And what I'm noticing is that where there's a little bit of a missing link is in the professional development sector. That's one. And what I mean by that is how we present ourselves. How have we been trained to have a polished exchange with a client or a colleague? How do we behave behind the chair? What's the energy of us that contributes to the overall, let's say, the salon culture? And I just don't think we were trained. I don't think we were prepared in beauty school. I don't even think we were fully prepared technically, which a lot of us are coming to learn, especially in the world of curl specialty, which is why everyone's out there now trying to learn, the latest technique. But what I've also noticed is that many stylists think that by attending a training or watching a YouTube video or an Instagram video, that it's a one and done. And they learn the concept by watching it, and they think that they can go and replicate it. Or they go to a training for 1 or 2 days, and then they think that, they're ready to go. And it's simply not true. So I started researching it, and it was wild to me statistically to find out that it actually takes 10,000 hours of training to become an expert. Mm-hmm. And we hate using the word expert because we're never an expert if we're always learning. We definitely have a focus, which is what curl specialty is. But everyone's version of what it means to be disciplined in this specialty is different. And where I noticed it and what informed my decision to launch a new company around education was when I was watching these licensed professionals come to our academy for certification. And I realized that even the people that have been through a foundational program and an advanced program, when they arrived at certification, they were not showing up as a true specialist. And I understand it, because how can someone with minimal human-to-human connection in an academy situation who goes back to their salon probably isn't practicing and taking these tools and training like an athlete, come back to a certification and perform, above standard? And a lot of people that pass are passed with a lower than a higher grade. And so I said to myself, there's got to be a way to create supplemental training for people obviously dedicated that are coming, but a training that keeps the thread alive, where the concepts aren't lost or misinterpreted because too much time has passed. Mm-hmm. But in addition to that, also receive good information about the professional part they do. And that's something that, yes, they have business trainings out there, but that real life in salon, how do we communicate with each other? How can we better read a client? Some of us have it intuitively and some of us don't. Mm-hmm. But that's the missing ingredient to be at the top of your game. And so for the stylists that need easier access to education, they will be things more frequently. I don't feel that we have enough of that. We have videos out there on the internet that show the surface, quick one and done. They'll show the before, they'll show the middle, they'll show the after. But the why and the how is missing. And so I want that industry professional that happily and joyfully and generously gives that information away. And that's really what my new education platform is about. That's what License to Lead is. It's a platform where people can receive live training if they want it, which even though I haven't had the website up or launched yet, have reached out to me, and I've been doing a lot of in-salon education privately for salons and teams, but that can also receive really good training remotely. And that's the platform that I've been setting up, and it's been a beast to create. You and I talked about this.
Yep, for months we've been talking about this.
And then the ankle,
Oh, yeah.
I broke the ankle, and so that set me back. But I'll tell you, this path to enrollment, this technical piece is a very difficult piece, where just like I'm on this show with you now, and what you go through to have me show up clearly and to sound the sound come through. There's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot that goes into enrolling people's show webinar, that they're really seeing high quality education happening. And so that's where I'm at right now. The website's written, it's there. Now it's a matter of linking it up so that I can offer the content, whether it's professional development driven programs or technically driven programs. That will be the starting point for me. Sure. And then there'll be an opportunity also to enroll in law education. And there will be a whole mapped out plan of, this is what it costs. People want to know, like, what would it cost to bring you in to my salon? What kind of value will my team get out of it? And again, that's not a one and done.
No.
And so I'm bringing the reality of education really to the industry. And the message is that the training never stops. And a lot of people they think they leave the class or the academy and like they're good to go. But all we're really doing is giving them the tools that they then have to go and train.
Right.
Exactly. I love everything that you said. It's so, so true. And I experienced that totally when I trained my girls in my salon. And luckily for them, they're working side by side with me. But after they went through the training, then it was like, okay, now you get to bring in models.
Right.
And continue I didn't even let them, work on paying customers and for a long time until I felt that they were ready, because there was so much more.
And they're lucky that they have you, because you get that.
Yeah,
Right.
Totally. And just like you said, the way they talk, the way they consult, the way that, but it was interesting to see, them go through a class, like you say, and then go back and be able to try to apply those things. But there's so much information that you forget, or I'd walk by and look and say, you're holding that at the wrong angle, or why
Right.
are you doing that, or you need to adjust for each type of curly hair. You're doing the same cut on every head. That's not how it works. You have to be able to analyze and adjust, all those things. So there's so much more. I love that. Yeah, that's a great idea.
And that's
so needed.
That's where the whole digital classroom comes into play, because they might have forgotten. I mean, how much could any of us retain in a 2-day program? It's overwhelming.
Exactly.
It's super overwhelming.
Yeah, you leave, you take it back, and it's just too much to retain. I forget what it is, but the actual amount that you retain after one day, I forget. It's like 15. It's like 15 or 20%, right? It's like nothing.
If that.
And I know for myself, I always leave with a huge headache, because again, I put so much pressure on myself to remember everything and do everything perfectly. And it's like, oh my gosh, I feel like people laugh. They're like, well, you take classes? Yeah, absolutely. Like Shari, you're saying, I mean, I constantly am still learning, and, it takes that over and over and over, and then practicing, more, and then going back and taking another class, because you might pick up something different that you forgot, or, it just tweaking. And so it's a constant thing.
Yeah. And we liked your concept so much that we are going to be hosting a License to Lead class with Miss Shari Harbinger at our Raw Hair Organic Salon in beautiful Naples, Florida. And you can PM me or email me for details, or Shari. And,
you and I have to get that date together.
Yes, so we'll have to work that out. But we're going to do it.
We are going to do it.
Yeah.
There's another reason that I'm doing this, which ultimately, when all is said and done, the consumer is the one who's affected.
Yeah.
And in our last interview, we talked about this.
Yes.
Like, we want to know that our consumers know that they've sat in the chair of somebody who can truly deliver a start to finish beautiful service.
Yeah.
And so I want to change that. I want consumers to know that there are a lot of decent texture specialists out there.
Excellent.
Absolutely. It's going to take a while, but I'm sure
It
sure we can do it.
It will, but hopefully this will be the starting point.
Yeah. So if any of the professional stylists out there would like to learn more about this, how could they do it, Shari?
Well, so here's what's happening. I have right now, I don't have the website launched. And so the frustration has been, they're all excited, but then where do they go? And there's nowhere to go, because, this site has been an animal.
They can email
But
you and talk to you, right?
They can actually
Perfect.
DM me through Instagram. I am on Instagram. And what I'm starting to do is put some fun videos up. But again, these are not teaching exchanges. This is just showing you what I offer, what's possible, what I do. So License to Lead, Shari Harbinger on Instagram. You can definitely DM me, and then we can get in touch with each other, and I can certainly send you the packet of what it takes to have an in-salon education program.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, the Instagram page will have a website, which they can click on, and everything will be there.
Right, right. And you can also hit us up on our Curly Girl support group on Facebook, or the Curly Hair Specialists Professional Facebook group, or email me, ken@rawhairorganics.com, and I'll give you the information about the License to Lead class at our beautiful Naples, Florida salon. So,
and that's exciting. Who wouldn't want to come to Florida and receive education?
Who wouldn't want to come to Naples,
gosh.
for God's sakes? I know I say that all the time. It's like, yeah, it's a horrible place to go, right? We're not even a mile from the beach, I don't think. But yeah, it's terrible. It's awful. Awful. Restaurants,
Hey, we'll have
horrible.
to plan a little fun happy hour on the water, maybe.
Yeah,
We can
because
do
I'm
that.
like, wait a minute here. I don't know if your class is anything like mine, but I say you guys are going to be on my schedule now.
Oh yeah, if you see the way Melanie runs a class, so it's
Oh boy.
Yeah, we tell people it's a 3-day class in 2 days. It's 12 hours is maybe when we think about stopping. Maybe.
But
It's
that's
Melanie.
good because you have, you got everyone's attention, so we might as well give as much information as we can.
Right, exactly. I think with you here it'd be great, because that's kind of how we've always marketed it, is that you will never leave a class at one of Melanie's classes thinking you didn't get your money's worth. You're going to leave exhausted.
Beautiful. I love
So
it.
yeah,
Well,
it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, we'll
let's
work
get
out
a
the
date
details.
on it. Yes, for sure.
I
That's
agree.
exciting.
Yeah, let's do that. Well, thank you, Shari. I really appreciate you coming on, and I'm seeing the responses that we're getting, and everyone else seems to be real happy that you've come on as well. So,
Well, thank you. I love you guys, and I love being part of this.
yes,
Thank you. It's so exciting.
and I'll keep you posted. It'd be really great if you could come and do the class, and then we could do our in studio Q&A, because then we'd have the majority of everybody here. We'll have to see.
There you go.
Man, oh man, would that be? Boy, we're making some history around here. Hey, it could be fun.
I love it. I love it.
I do too. I think it's great, but wonderful. All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll be in touch. If you have any questions,
pleasure.
you guys know how to get a hold of Shari and me, and either one of us can update you, and we'll talk to you again soon. So
Bye,
thanks, Shari.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
One last shout out.
Good night. So what'd you think?
It was great.
It's a great interview, but it's we've been really lucky over the last several weeks that we've got we've got some some of the real base kind of, like I said, I hate to use the word founders, but they're really people that were at the beginning of of this curl industry, the whole
curl movement,
the whole curl movement in general. I mean, we've gotten literally we've gotten virtually everybody on who who's been at from the very beginning, who are the real the base of it.
Right.
It's really pretty cool. I gotta admit, it's
awesome.
really pretty cool. So.
And yet still new and exciting things coming up.
Yeah, still new and exciting things. Think about that. We've got Sandrielle and her new deal coming out. We've got Shari and her new deal coming out, and me and my Rawganics nutritional supplement. All right, I'll stop from self-promoting. Hey, it's Self-Promotion Monday, so go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, please, so I can do more things with it.
Okay.
It'll be fun, I swear.
Okay.
I Self-Promotion Monday, so I'm in. All right. You got any parting shots you want to throw in there?
No.
No? Are we it? Should we just end?
Yep,
All right,
that's
wonderful. Okay. All right. We'll see you guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week, Monday. Take care.
Have a great curly week.
Bye.
Clear. You guys are clear. She can't hear you. Hold on.